We've got two major injury updates to this Milwaukee Brewers team, headlining Jackson Chourio as well as Blake Misiorowski, and what the plan is going forward for this Milwaukee Brewers team heading as we get closer to the postseason. We're going to be breaking that down, as well as going over a rare trade that happened with the Milwaukee Brewers after the MLB deadline. We're going to be breaking it all down here in this video. Before we do jump into all of that, though, ladies and gentlemen, be sure to hit the sub button if you haven't already. We notice that just over 98% of you guys watching right now are not subscribed to the channel, but if you're looking for a spot for all of your Milwaukee Brewers news, be sure to hit the sub button. I'm going to have you guys updated here throughout the remainder of the season, as well through the postseason and going into the offseason. And we have a lot of stuff to cover here, so let's get straight into it. I want to first pull up a little update regarding Jackson Chourio, Blake Misiorowski. Now, we have an article come out yesterday, and also a few kind of tidbits here and there for some Brewers reporters, breaking down the two injuries and what it's kind of looking like over the next week or two in their direction. Now, firstly, heading into this one, Jackson Chourio, the right hamstring, IL date, August 1st, of course, the 10-day IL, retroactive July 30th. So right now, I believe as of today or tomorrow, I can't remember the date, I do apologize, but going into this, he will now be eligible to come off the IL, but the expected return date is late August at earliest. Now, the status was responding well to treatment as of August 5th, which was yesterday, remember the date now, at which time the Brewers estimated a return of another 2 to 4 weeks. So it looks like, and of course this is something we knew, that the Brewers were going to take their time with Jackson Chourio, not rush him back. They're in a very good spot right now, and of course, as we get to later in this month, we're going to get a lot more, challenging games. It's going to be a lot of a busier schedule, and of course, as this month kind of comes down to it, we have 2 days off, and there's not going to be a lot of rest for a lot of these players, so having Jackson Chourio make him come into a game here, play day in, day out, really would not be the best decision for his injury, of course. And as a right hamstring injury, playing in center field, swinging the bat the way he is, he's going to have to do a lot of running. So the smartest decision is what the Brewers are doing, keeping him shut down for 2 to 4 weeks. And of course, as we come down to it, when we're taking a look at the outcome of this and the way that this Brewers team has really kind of developed around that, when we do go take a look here at the stats from Blake Perkins, he's been holding his own at center field, and although, as I mentioned, it's not a one-for-one replacement for Jackson Chourio whatsoever, it is a very fine replacement for where we currently stand, as well as going over making the moves at the deadline that they did, as well as, getting Sal Frelick back as well. This outfield is really kind of coming back to get healthy, and now that Jackson Chourio is the only one out, still sucks, but we're completely fine on this case, and I still think it's just a better decision to let him rest, let him get healthy until he is fully healthy and ready to come back. Now, Jackson Chourio is another one, Blake Misiorowski is another one here that we have an update on. And his left tibia contusion, this was not really a bad injury whatsoever, just kind of keeping him on the IL. A few interesting things I mentioned in the last video where they could be kind of running a 6-man rotation with Logan Henderson, keeping the inning count down for Logan Henderson and Jacob Misiorowski, as they're both either over or 1 inning away from their career highs. So you got to make sure that you're keeping these guys healthy, keeping them rested, keeping them, well rested, especially as we got, still a couple months left till the postseason, about 2 now coming into it, and then, or 3 actually, and then going into, a very, very busy later half of the season, and you want your guys healthy for the postseason. That's no doubt. So having a Logan Henderson who's been absolutely, flaming people in the MLB, and of course, I feel like we don't have to talk about Jacob Misiorowski because we know how good he's been. It is smart to leave those guys as well, let them go, and as you see there, the status through a bullpen, August 5th, first mound work since being struck by a comebacker on the 28th against the Cubs, but you could expect him to be back as soon as August 15th, a little earlier than Jackson Chourio. Now, August 15th is the start date of the Cubs series, so we know we have a doubleheader on the first game, 4 games after that. It's a very busy schedule, and I know that the Brewers are going to want to have everybody firing here, and I think Jacob Misiorowski, not necessarily, needed here in the series, but it's definitely going to be a very important series for him to return, and you obviously would love to have him back, but the way that things are playing out, if this Brewers team continue to win, it's good, but you cannot afford to drop, at most 3 games to this Cubs team, especially how kind of they're climbing up the standings here as well. So 2 little updates regarding those two here, and as well, kind of wanted to pull up as well that Misiorowski was on a pending innings, like I mentioned. Taking a nice little rest here, limit his innings, is very good. Even though you don't want to see an injury, it's not his arm, it's fine. He'll be back. Logan Henderson's still dealing, and having those 2 guys kind of as your, I won't say 1 and 2, but, having them there as a option B, option A, Freddy Peralta, with everybody else here, it's just a very good situation right now that the Brewers could be in, and, you can't really ask for more on the mound right now. So, like you guys have said, you guys seem to love it in the last video in the comments below when I mentioned, would you like to see a 6-man rotation? If you got the horses working, you're going to have to get them all going. And I completely agree with that. But before we do move on, I have one quote here that I wanted to pull up from Todd Rosiak, going over Jackson Chourio a bit. And the right hamstring is improving, but is estimated now to 2 to 4 weeks. The news that this was announced before the team's Tuesday night contest against the Atlanta Braves. Chourio injured his hamstring about a week ago and has been on the 10-day IL since then. But with those 10 days coming up soon, he's not going to return when he's able to. So this came out, I believe, like 2 or 3 days ago. So we now got that update regarding where he is. He's not going to be coming back until about late August, and you want him rested up, especially when you have other players as well, like Joey Ortiz. This was an example that I like to pull up because he's been really kind of blowing my mind lately, playing good, and a replacement option for him. So let me know what you think about all of that. But we do need to move on now to a very interesting look where the Brewers have made a trade, a rare trade after the MLB trade deadline. And this is what we have right now coming into this. Taking a look at Sam Kahn and what he had to say on Sports Illustrated. The Miami Marlins traded right-handed pitcher, Austin Roberts to the Milwaukee Brewers in exchange for cash considerations on Monday, per the team's official transaction logs. Miami and Milwaukee got the deal over the finish line by 4 days after the trade deadline, but because Roberts was not on the Marlins 40-man roster, he was still eligible to get moved. So this is just seeming like another move for depth for this Milwaukee Brewers team, and I'll pull up his stats here now while we're going into it as well, because he's obviously not a guy that's going to have a major impact right away, but the more depth you have coming down the road is better than not having enough pitchers. And I think this is Brewers team, prime example of having enough pitchers, having everybody rolling, but you never know the injuries. The Brewers have been dealing with that quite a bit over the last little while, so they want to make sure they have everything locked down, everything ready to go. And I think that getting a guy like this who, compared to the past few years, 3.98 ERA in, AAA, AA, few games, not bad. Has the starting capabilities back in the day, but not so much right now. But I still think it's something that you can't really hate seeing going into this, where you're giving up cash considerations for a guy that will only help. And, if you don't work out, he don't work out. It's really the way that you can roll this here. But regardless, I think it's a smart move for the Brewers to make. When you kind of get a little loophole like that, make it happen. Why not? If it helps, it helps. If he's playing well, he's playing well. And if he don't, he don't. That's the way the Brewers really got to think about this now going down the road. Now, before we do finish this video off, I wanted to go over a little bit of a update regarding the team over the past few days. And I'll pull this up once again, heading into our standings right now and taking a look how everything is going. Not so much standings, but schedule for August. Team's wheeling. Team's absolutely dealing, and going in here tonight with an option to sweep the Braves is obviously a big one. Day off after that, before we go back to face the Mets, the Pirates, another day off. Then we have a major set of games coming up. The Reds, the Cubs for 5 games. That's a very, very tricky set of games there. Giants, Diamondbacks, Blue Jays. Very busy month. A lot of tough games, and, even you're taking a look at the Diamondbacks, team that sold at the deadline. They're still a team that are going to play good when they're available. They have a lot of star power there, so games like that you really cannot afford to drop. And one more thing before we do finish the off is the pitching matchup for tonight, Jose Quintana versus Spencer Strider. Spencer Strider, 5-8 on the season. Of course, the Braves are not having the best season, but taking a look at a 3.71 ERA, Spencer Strider, we know he's a good pitcher regardless, so can't take him lightly. Got to go out, got to fight like you have been over the past few games, and really just start pressuring any pitcher, any defense with the offense this Brewers team has. They're one of the teams that can do this in the MLB, any pitcher. So let me know what you think about that, as well as everything else that was in this video. That's all I got, though, in this one. If you did enjoy, give it a like, hit the sub button as well. I'm signing out, though. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.